Hello everyone, we're back on this grind. This is Street Yan's podcast, and as usual, it's your boy Ade boy. Joining me again is Hafis Odunuga and Emmanuel Ade. Today we'll be looking at the tribunal case and the judgments, and also the aftermath of the tribunal judgment. We know that this electoral petition tribunal is one that has been hanging over the Tinubu administration from the first day he was announced as the winner of the election. And for some of us, like we've discussed even on this podcast, we've looked at how the case itself has affected even the perception of his administration or the new government from both internal and external players in terms of credibility in his government, or even if at the very least it represents the interest of the people. We've seen cases where people in Niger Republic, when the whole coup broke out, journalists from the West African sub-region have called into question the legitimacy of Tinubu himself to be able to speak as the ECOWAS chairman, simply because there's still a tribunal case going on that brought him into power. And finally, we were able to get the judgment of the tribunal. And for some of us, we feel like there's no big surprise there. But at the same time, there's still a lot of people that have pointed out some major things that they feel like represent miscarriage of justice in terms of the decisions of the court. So today we'll be looking at those angles. We'll try to talk about it from a casual perspective while obviously making valid points. So today I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
This
Okay, sir.
this case, for me, from the beginning, there are a lot of things that, even without being a lawyer or whatever, the moment they went to court, well, going to court, we know in the democratic system is your right. If you feel like you lost an election that you shouldn't have lost, if you feel like there's anything that worked against you, you have a right to go to court. But from your own standpoint, you have a right to go to court is one thing. Having a case that is worth the time of the court is another thing. What was your own perception generally when you first heard the critical issues that the opposition took to the court?
Okay. First off, the issues, some we believed they will be able to prove. We always have this opinion of this is how the law is supposed to be. However, the law deals with facts and deals with what is actually the rule of law. So there are cases we've seen from the start, or let me say, I particularly for one, I've seen that this might not hold water in the court of law, because I do not see it very related to the current situation, which firstly is the case of the drug offenses, or the forfeiture of some amount of money in the US. But we always operate a system of what do they call it? All these newspaper courts, media trial is something we usually
the court
do.
of public opinion.
Court of public opinion. So a lot of brouhaha had gone and has circulated that that would be a case we used against him. But a criminal case, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not anywhere. In fact, I just have a few friends who are. But I don't see how a criminal case and an election case fits in side by side. It should have been brought probably before the election to prove that this person is a criminal, cannot contest. If you prove so, that is in my own opinion. So that's first off. Then secondly, the case of his certificates, either attending Chicago State University or not. That's too, because it is in the jurisdiction of the school, Bola Tinubu himself, and let's say INEC. Then for another party to come and say this person actually did not go to this school because he did not do this thing, he did not do that thing, actually should, I think these lawyers too, they know how to play their games, because they know when we bring all of this case together, maybe if this one did not hold water, we'll also push this one.
It's like you're just throwing a lot of things to the wall and hoping something will stick.
Something will stay ahead. So if I stand on those two majorly, I think they know, because what I can just say that should have been the most or the major case in the tribunal is maybe the usage of IREV for uploading the results, and the courts. This is not to support in fact the ruling is of the courts, the ruling of the courts, either you like it or not. However, the courts have shown that INEC as a body and in its constitution does not have that it's not mandatory for them to use the IRF as a collation platform. That for me is the actual major case in all of this appeal and court ruling, and all of those 6 or 8 redress that was put before the PEPT. Actually it's just one that should have been the major case. So for me, not all should have taking the time and energy and the brouhaha of the court.
At the end of the day, one of the things that we know for sure is that, or at least if you are a non-partisan person, that you are looking at the issue from outside. Although, whether you are partisan or not partisan, this issue affects you because you are a Nigerian. Maybe you even voted in the election and you have a candidate that you supported. But at the end of the day, too, if you are just somebody who your own mindset is, at the end of the day, let justice prevail. It's not a matter of whether Obi or Atiku or Tinubu. One of the things that we know for sure from the beginning is that some of these things, like you mentioned, Hafis, are things that should have been dealt with prior to the election. But at the end of the day, it's almost like you kept quiet and you played along, and the moment you lost, now you want to cry foul. For the case of the drug thing, this man, after the so-called drug case happened how many years ago? 20 or 30 years ago. He has become a senator in Nigeria. He has become a 2-time governor. And even when he was running for governorship, I think the case was brought up. It was shut down. And so, coming back to your point, Hafis, it's almost as if all these things are just trying to pad the case before the court, so that with the hope that one thing or the other will stick. So for me, in my own opinion, it kind of calls to question the credibility of the case itself that they have brought to the tribunal, because you already know. One of the funniest ones to me was the case of the FCT, winning the FCT.
I purposely did not, sorry for cutting you, I purposely did not even mention that because I've heard from different even Isan. Femi Falana said this in black and white. Yeah. I think is it either TV?
It was on Channels TV.
It was on Channels. Yeah. That if 25% in the FCT does not mean anything.
Exactly.
Like you win it or not, in as much as you win the third and you have that national spread.
Exactly.
FCT,
because so at the end of the day, the FCT is practically just another state. So they were basically they were working on the technicalities of the language that the Constitution was written in.
Thank you. So and if we want to go further by making more case or trying to look for something to bring out of that, we should say, okay, states that have population, say for example Kaduna, Kano or Lagos. Yeah. Then they should be given another specific ruling that, okay, if you cannot make 30% of the votes in Lagos because they have this social population, all of those things. Yeah. All of those things.
At the end of the day, to just create more confusion.
So it is actually from the start, not because I've heard it from the lawyers. You know, the way we read these laws or constitution, we read it in text. However, it has different meaning.
Yeah, because basically the whole essence of having the courts is for the interpretation of the Constitution. What it means is that if the law was simple and precise, there wouldn't be the need for judiciary.
An Greek extension should be able to do justice.
Exactly. But then, you know what? I can tell you that, okay, Femi Falana has come out to say, this is not it's not even a question. FCT, it does not represent it does not have any special consideration in the Constitution. But at the same time, it is also some other SANs that are pushing that, no, that is not what the Constitution says. So it's kind of, I won't say it's confusing, but I would say it's just a reflection of the kind of confusion politics brings into things that you think should be normal or should be normal. Based on common sense.
Very correct. I totally agree with that.
Somebody made a joke on Twitter. I said, if you are talking about FCT having that special consideration, then that means everybody that lives in the FCT should probably have a diplomatic passport too. Maybe during election period, people will just probably move to the FCT and we just say, as long as our candidate has won the FCT, he can be president. Obviously, that is not logical. I'm sure the FCT has some of the lowest populations across for any of states within Nigeria. So how should the FCT represent the interest of Nigeria as a whole in terms of determining who the president should be?
Sorry, please. let me even bring this forth that FCT, everybody how they should know that FCT is performing the function of an administrative geographical area,
Territory. Yeah.
or you call it political if you want to, because every settlement or every place has a particular function it does. For example, Lagos is commercial, some places are residential, and the likes and the likes. So we will say FCT in terms of Nigeria is just a political, it's performing a political function. If we remove that seat of Aso Rock from FCT, then it just becomes any other state.
It's almost
So
like in the US for you to say, oh, Washington, D.C. should be a major factor in determining who wins the presidential election in America. It
election,
doesn't make
then you
any
are not fair.
logical sense.
Then you're not fair to every other places. You are not fair to every other territory in that country. So let's just put that to rest.
Yeah. Earlier we were looking at the judgments of the court, the decision the court made on basically each of those cases. Can you give us a rundown of some of the major decisions?
Thank you so much, Adeboy. So one of the very interesting parts is one of the decisions made on Atiku Abubakar's case. You know, the election petition court said his petition was filled with nebulous and generic allegations. You know, and you would hear someone like Justice Ugo say his verdicts were basically imprecise and vague. So you could imagine saying someone who was formerly the vice president, now running for the president, has a whole verdict, a whole combination of statements, and they were all imprecise and vague. What would we have to say about this? Is it like
I feel like at the end of the day, it still speaks to the fact that even the whole case itself doesn't have merit, because a lot of the allegations, for instance, I don't know if it was even Atiku that said this one or Obi's lawyers or representatives, where part of what they said was that because there were a lot of irregularities in some specific places, like voters were not allowed. And unfortunately, you didn't actually bring the evidence to the court to say, okay, this is. So it's almost like you are making allegations. It is okay. It is on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram. You can make allegations. Even, and funny enough, if there's this thing that is going on right now, they say you go explain tire, no evidence.
No evidence.
And that is even on the street. So that tells you the importance of evidence. That means that if you don't have evidence to back what you are saying, if you don't have receipts, you go just explain.
If you can't prove in the court, then you have nothing to. He will alleges must come with proof.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have the responsibility to now prove your case. But if you just come with allegations, when it's not Twitter judgments that when somebody is accused, it's all about who is the most vocal. In the courtroom, it's not about who is the most vocal. It's not about who can shout the loudest. It's not about who has the most people protesting outside. It's about the facts before the judges. And I feel like that was probably one of the reasons that the judge made such a claim about the case before him in terms of Atiku's own. Hafis, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, in fact, one of the judges said one of the Obi's petition, the evidence they brought that the Labour Party, like they were, is it undervoting or something, or overvoting by APC? Said it's actually supported the respondent's case in the election. So from what actually was my own concern, or what I actually was looking forward to, is the case of that IREF, probably Shettiman's case of double nomination. But Shettiman's case of double nomination had been, I think they've made the ruling some months back, and it says since the party that is concerned, which is the APC, since they are not bringing their person to court, then it is not in the place of either LP or whatever party to bring them to court for double nomination. Although if we are to be fair with that, I think that kind of case have been ruled in one of these states, either by OSAC. One of the cases have been ruled like that.
So there was a precedent
double
already.
nomination. Yes, and actually, I think the incumbent was sacked because of that, or I think that happened. But the technicality here was different.
It's different, yeah.
Yes, it was totally different. So that's
one of the ones that jump out of the decisions of the court was on one of the issues raised by Labour Party. Said the tribunal had decided in the judgment that by the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, it is not compulsory for INEC to use electoral transmission. And that is the part where we got the major reaction, because from even before the election was concluded, even before Tinubu was announced as the winner, this was the major part that people, or let me say the politicians, were shouting about. Oh, I remember Dino Milaye too. It was in front of was there while they were reading the results. It was like, no, we have to stop this process because it did not use what is stated in the Electoral Act. It did not transmit through.
Yeah, that was actually the biggest case. I think that should have been the only
one of
case.
the major things.
It's the major things. Every other thing is just let's add things up.
Let's just add this to it. And unfortunately, the case was dead on arrival, because even to the ordinary mind, when you read that constitutional provision, you would understand that the prerogative is with INEC to decide what they want to do. So it's almost like, we come out to say, okay, the Constitution has empowered us to transmit however we want. So for this election, we will transmit online through IRF. But then the Constitution did not go on to say, if you have decided a process you are going to upload with, if you don't do it, then you must cancel the election. The Constitution only stops on the question of who has the power to determine the process of transmission, which is INEC. Simple. So if INEC comes today and says we are going to use the internet, and the internet shuts down or whatever happens, and they decide, you know what, we are going to do the old school. In
fact, Adeboy, sorry to cut short again. I do not think INEC at any point during the tribunal, because it was the Labour Party and the PDP against INEC and Bola Tinubu, right?
Yes.
And APC. I do not think there was any time INEC came out to say this the portal was attacked so number of times. That is why we did not use. I don't think they even defended their own parts. They were just, okay, everything you people are saying we did not do, this is why we did it.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? They did not come to say, they did not, because they are the defendants. They are not coming to say, okay, this is the reason we try to go online, blah blah blah. It was just that you people are supposed to use IRF, and we are saying we are not using it because this is the situation as at that time.
Exactly. And the thing is, INEC particularly did not even say, oh, we are shutting down IRF or anything. But it was just a case of IRF is like a backup for you to be able to see this thing live. We are still going to collate the normal way we collate. We are not going to, it's not like they are going to display a big screen and they will now start counting through like Google Slides. They will now start counting on the screen. The one the Constitution and the Electoral Act recognizes is those documents that the returning officers bring.
Yeah.
All of this comes to the point of essentially cases that were brought up were just almost for formalities. And this brings me to the next thing that pops up in my mind. Ade, for me, all this just kind of gives me this mindset of, we know we have lost this election, but we have to continue to make noise because we want to keep our supporters warm and keep the fire burning. I don't know if this is the same thing you feel about the whole case.
Exactly. I feel the fact that there's a large number of individuals at the back of some certain people right now, it's a concept that can be rolled with. So if it dies down so easily, just like the fear the people of PDP had with Goodluck Jonathan as of the time he submitted just when he lost the election. Exactly.
Giving up like that.
Exactly. So the fear that if I give up like this, the nation is having towards my personality would equally die down. Let's fight a case and let's build it for a better future. I feel the whole drama and concept going on is just publicity. They say both bad and good publicity is publicity. So there's a large awareness going on. You will notice, how will I put it, there was an outreach and a very loud one for probably a day or two, closing down some major roads and people standing out that, no, this decision has to go the way we want it to go. So it was no longer about let's find the right concept to this or let's have a justice system working on this. It's not about we have a belief that it's this guy or this person that we are behind that is supposed to win. So with that, it's enough for the leader to drive on. Exactly. It's enough for the leader to drive on and be like, come on, we can do this. They are bad guys. Let's take justice to our hand, restore the mandate.
I feel like at the end of the day, it all looks like an appeal to emotion, the emotion of the people the
Mhm.
emotions of the judges, the emotions of everybody that is looking from the outside, that, you know what, no, we've been wrong. Do you think that, of course, we don't know the inner workings of these things, Hafiz, do you think that there would have probably been a situation or a time where the lawyers of these opposition parties tell them, don't really have a case, but well, we shall, let's just take something there, because I don't
See,
want to believe that these highly qualified lawyers that took
Lawyers
these
didn't know what
frivolous cases,
exactly.
yeah, to the court,
you,
did not know better.
you mean moment of truth? Moment of truth. They surely would have. Okay, let me just use this as an analogy. If a criminal comes to a lawyer, I want you to represent me in court. What did you do?
Mm.
The lawyer will
What
be
did you
like,
do?
Tell me the truth. Tell me the whole
Mm.
truth." So
Mm.
for lawyers, for
I go
lawyers to
tell you
say,
what you
"Tell
go
me the
talk
whole
when you
truth,"
reach.
and you know this person is a criminal, and you are going to represent that person in court,
My
you
lord, he
are
didn't do
going
it.
there. The lawyer would either look for a fact that shows that he didn't do it, or a law that shows that, or one loophole that he can
Yeah,
actually use to
like
escape
exactly.
the judgment of the of it. So I feel it is usual that even someone who knows I'm the person here who is hearing here, or I'm to be blamed for this, but because I believe these lawyers are very astute, they are very technical and the likes, then they can look for something to make me prevail. So I feel there will be moments where they will tell themselves this thing would not go this
Like
way, but let's
forever,
let's
can
try,
you
let's
will
try
law?
look for something.
But
Okay,
can
there
try
is
and survive.
one of the ruling, the judge said, I think there is a book written by one of Atiku's lawyer
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
against Tinubu, and you are trying to
Exactly.
use that. So these are the things that we are in a country where anything can happen. Let me just put it that way. Where
Mm.
animals can swallow money, and so all of these
Mm.
things, you expect
Yeah.
it to play also in places where serious matters are to be decided. You expect anything can happen. Bringing anything can happen mentality, like, we could try this thing now, and we could do away with it, or we could get away with it.
Yeah.
So that is what I feel. There are moments they will know, okay, this thing would not really fly, but for the
But in
sake
a
of
world of possibilities,
that anything can, so let's just try it. Let's just try it. So I don't know what. Okay, maybe when we get to that point, because all of them said they are going to
Supreme
the
Court.
Supreme Court.
Do you know what?
I
That actually brings me to this. Okay, the same judicial system. I know that naturally, if everywhere in the world, when you take a court, the whole essence of having different levels of the court system is
got
so that you can appeal your case. And
your
there's
case.
always a chance that there will be a different decision made by another court. So in a
Mhm.
world where you see, for instance, in the case of Oyetola and Adeleke in Osun State, where
Yes,
the tribunal first declared that, okay, Oyetola won,
one
even though Adeleke was declared winner by INEC initially. And then
initially.
Adeleke went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court now says Adeleke won. I guess it gives you this feeling that, of course, maybe you can find a better fate in a higher court if you try,
This
if
is
you
the
take.
thing. Just like I said before, Tommy. Just like I said before, I was concluding a point. In the case, it was said by some lawyers too, because I wouldn't want to be using this media trial of a thing where people will say this way, because I like to listen to what actually the lawyers and SAN says.
See, yeah.
Judges will not come out. Judges, you will not have interview with judges to give a media interview of judges to give
No.
their opinion on a case. No, it is always these lawyers that would give their opinion. So some lawyers said that the way, the technicality, or the way Adeleke's representatives, lawyers, put their case towards the court, forward to the court, it was not technically and well arranged. That is why it
Initially.
was initially. That is why it was knocked off. Do you see that? Now it takes me back to the fact that Atiku lawyers and Obi lawyers would see it as, let us try this. And my conclusion is that if they are going to the Supreme Court and they are giving some cases in which they presented to the Presidential Election Tribunal, if they leave out some of these cases and they are pushing for just maybe 2 or 3, then you know that these people, it's not that they are not competent, they are just doing a EJ. So
Just
that
watch
is what
it.
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, thank God we actually made reference to the judges. Well, the fact that judges do not come out to they don't come out to take interviews or defend their judgment.
The
They
judgment,
they have
yes.
passed their judgments and that's it for them. They are mostly heard and not seen, except of course in the courtroom. A lot of things have been said about fine. Number one, it's not the first time it's happening when it comes to like this level of case where they've allowed live transmission. Some people have come out to say, oh, the judges, why did they not show their face during the judgment? And we're like, what is the significance of the judges showing their face on camera while they read out the judgment? And now this brings me to the point of, even before the judgment was made, there was this slang or slogan that was flying around. All eyes on the judiciary, all eyes on the judiciary. In my own opinion, it was an attempt to intimidate the judges, to
Actually,
make them feel like, oh, you have to almost like to pigeonhole them in such a way that when they want to make their decision, they have to have this, must be this at the back of their mind that we are watching you, almost not allowing them to be able to freely make their decision. On the other side, there was an allegation against Fashola, and that case is already with the DSS, that he wrote the judgment.
The judgment, yes.
And the guy that accused Fashola of that thing now is running up and down. I think they've not even found him yet. I heard his brother was arrested or something. So my whole point with this is, from your opinion, Hafis, fine, we know that even with the election result, when you combine Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso's votes together, is more than Tinubu's votes. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Tinubu had the highest individual votes. But you know what the big picture tells you is that more people did not vote for Tinubu, and as such, there will be a majority, quote unquote, that are pushing this agenda of eyes on the judiciary. For you, do you think that it is just a ploy to create a feeling of intimidation in the judges and to put them in a situation where they are afraid to make their decision, even when the case you have brought before them does not have merit?
To be truthful, and if we are to be logical as human beings, that is the actions of people saying their actions and their deeds of saying eyes on the judiciary is to intimidate the judiciary. Actually, it is to intimidate the judiciary, because why would you say all eyes on me if not that you want me to shiver or you want me to? And don't forget that just like in the military and maybe a political office holder, these people to the judiciary, they've sworn an oath. They've sworn an oath that without fear or favor, they'll do their job to their utmost best. So they know that they are not going to be doing whatever they are doing with fear in mind, which intimidation comes as one of the factors of fear. So if you say all eyes on the judiciary, there is no logical meaning to it than don't do nonsense. So if you do nonsense, so which means I am an opposition and I'm telling you not to do nonsense, which means don't do what I don't want. Do what I want.
Do what I want.
That's what it means. Do what favors me. All eyes on you. So because if I'm to pronounce what the law says or what is correct according to the law, and I feel people are going to talk, people are going to have introduced fear, the intimidation is not a factor, then the judge is not doing their work right. So they shouldn't be doing that.
Ade, from another angle, one can say that even if the experts, like the lawyers and everybody that we know, and even if you are not a lawyer, let's say if you are educated enough to understand the Constitution, you can have an opinion that this case that you have brought before the court does not have credibility. But then we know that it is not everybody that has that level of understanding of the Constitution, right? So there is always room for millions of Nigerians to just feel like Obi or Atiku have been cheated in the courts. Do you think our distrust for the judiciary is a reflection of our distrust for our political system as a whole, or it is just a lack of understanding of what the electoral process is about, or judicial process in this case?
Well, I feel it's the two. Initially, how many Nigerians do actually have judiciary issues? Most Nigerians don't get to the point of going to court or having one court issues or the other. Everybody basically has a problem or so with the government. And why we do have this is because we've heard a lot of bad painted news about the government. You know, we This nation, we know how to pour everything on the government, even things that are generally handled by ourselves. We know how to blame government for everything. So we have this negative mindset about the government that generally posts that anything directly or indirectly linked to the government is also bad. So even if an organization comes up now and is working good or working fine, but is linked with the government or somebody involved with the government, we would naturally just have this painted idea that only anyone man, they are stealing our money. You get that kind of concept.
Yeah.
That is the same backing behind the concept of these people won't make the right choices. These guys that are involved, they would have bribed them. There's no how they would have bribed. Is it not these guys, these Godfather guys? There's no way they would have bribed the judges, they would have bribed the lawyers. With all the proofs that either Obi or Atiku brought forward. And you are telling me nothing is valid. You people you are all wicked. So there's that wrong sentiment of the public over anything concerning government. It's just no. Once government is involved, you can't win government.
Can't win. Hafis, from your own perspective, yes, we may not understand the nitty-gritty of these things, but okay. Whether it is because the judges feel intimidated that it won't be me that will remove a sitting president, or it is a case of bribery and corruption. All of this put together, from your own perspective, is it just part of the symptoms of a lack of trust in the system?
Actually, the law is the law. The rule of law is what upholds democracy. So, just like I said before, I believe the judges will not do their work in fear or favor. So, if out of 5 judges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, none is opposing the judgment of the others, and that should send a message. The judgments on or each of the cases that was pronounced, that was brought forth to the court, and it's a court of law. So any of the judges did not overturn any of the case that this for me it should be like this, while the rest are saying no, it should be like this. All of the judges followed and don't let us forget, judges, like I used to hear from someone I know who works in the courts, they say it's just like in every other field. They used to have specialties. Some they give them criminal cases, some they just like they say it depends on the case they bring forth to you. So in a court, for example, maybe in a federal high court, if they have, let's say, 13 or 12 or 10 judges, there will be a judge. They know, these are the kind of cases we bring to.
He has experience with this kind of case.
Maritime case, property cases, and the likes. So, given their wide experience, none of them could say this particular case should be overturned, or APC or Tinubu is found wanting in this particular case. That should send a meaning to. If we are to be going by our own thoughts and emotions, just like you said too, we don't know the nitty-gritty of all of these things. That should send it. Because I've never been in any a PhD seminar or defense where you will find all of the professors to agree to all of the steps, what they call a PhD candidate. I've not been in any, and I've been in quite some seminars that you
unlike this one that is almost like a unanimous decision that
it's not almost like it's a unanimous decision. You will see a judge, they have free will, and it's not that they are judging by their free will, they are judging according to the law, but it's not almost that because this person is saying this thing, I have to say this.
We have seen cases where judges,
all of them are giving their own verdicts.
They have different opinions, and they'll just do majority carries the vote. It is not 2 against 3 or 4 against 1, or all of them are saying the same thing. It should send something to the people's minds that it is the what they call them, the plaintiffs. They should actually work on what they are bringing forth to the law. So it is not a case of the country does not trust them. The country does not trust the government, or they don't want to be the person that removes the president from the seats. No, it's not a case of that. Even the president cannot go all out to say, because this person judged against me, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to no. It cannot happen. Honestly, it is for me. Of course, we know that the decision of the court was based on, of course, the law and the reality of what is before them. Like one of the things that I was on Twitter yesterday and I saw somebody come out to post something, I think a part where there were some coppers that were being attacked. A video clip from the last election. Apparently, the accusation that person was trying to lay was that this is an evidence of voter intimidation, right? And present something that the court should have considered. From my own perspective, I'm like, okay, you are posting this video on Twitter now, and you are saying, oh, so the judges did not see this, and they are saying there was not enough evidence. Are the judges supposed to go on Twitter to go and watch Twitter videos to make their
Thank you.
decision?
In fact, in all of those cases, is there anyone that states that talks about voter intimidation or
And how do
violence?
you know who is intimidating the voter?
There's nobody wearing a PDP shirt or APC shirt that shows that,
Exactly.
the PDP is the
And
one
the
chasing
funny
the APC, or the APC is the
Exactly.
one.
The funny thing is that even if you see somebody painted in APC regalia from head to toe doing something on video against some people, it still doesn't prove anything, because
Yes,
a party
but
member,
we don't know
a
the
PDP
person's
member,
intention.
can do
Can
that.
put on
Can put,
can put on that.
and say, just record me while I'm carrying this ballot box, and so that we can claim. So it doesn't prove anything. A lot of the witnesses they brought to the court, at the end of the determination of the judge was that it's just hearsay. There are no expert opinions. They are just people that you've just brought to come and say what they felt they saw. One person that came to say there was voter intimidation in his own polling unit. How does that represent the thousands of polling units across the country? If you say that you have evidence that, okay, there was overvoting in one polling unit, worst case scenario, they will cancel that polling unit, or even if they cancel the entire state. How many cases have you been able to prove?
I think it was even stated in the new electoral act. Yes, that
there's overvoting.
anywhere they cancel it, or there's violence, they cancel.
So at the end of the day, for me, all of these things, from my own perspective, number one, the whole point of this is just keep the fire burning, the fire of political relevance. Because before you know it, before you blink twice now, another election cycle is getting closer. And obviously, the stakeholders, even those who lost this election, would believe they have a strong chance of trying to do a comeback. Before you know it, 1 year, 2 years from now, we start hearing some alliances and rearrangements again that would probably give birth to new candidates and all of this. I feel like they are just using it to kill time, and probably they are also using it to milk their donors and sponsors too, for them to keep pumping money into the party because they say we are still in court to support us.
And people will be willing to do that.
Yeah, and then they are preying on the intelligence of Nigerians and just making the
of unsuspecting Nigerians.
Yeah, and they are just keeping the political system in, I would say, in an agitated state, because we don't know what is going to happen next. We don't know what is going to. Now they are going to the Supreme Court again. That's probably another 3-6 months of dragging another case, and so they are just.
I think everything has to come to conclusion. Maybe the Supreme Court also has a timeline. I'm not sure. Yes, I think they say everything should finish maybe before the year ends or something.
Okay, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. At this point, it's probably time to just move on. As much as people don't want to hear that. And
no, people. How do you know? You took that from my mouth. People do not want to hear move on. Actually, people don't want to hear move on. And when I say people, it's definitely the LP and the right. They don't want to hear.
They don't want to hear. But honestly, it's the reality of things. It is the reality of things. To prove beyond reasonable doubt that you, number one, won the election. Number two, the person that won was not supposed to even run for the election, or to even ask the court to declare that there should be a rerun where the winner of the election would not participate. It's a far cry. It's a far cry from my perspective. Do you have any closing remarks, Hafis?
Okay, so for me, my remarks at first is they've said they are not fine with the judgment. They've gotten the certified true copy of the judgment. I think was yesterday or 2 days ago. Now they are heading to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court are waiting for them. So I am looking forward to see what are the points, what are the cases, if it is that in that regard, they are going to bring forward. So if there will be any changes or if it will still remain
I
the
don't
same.
know if they allow admission of more evidence in the Supreme Court when you appeal a case. So I don't really know what they are going to try to prove when they get
So
there.
I am actually looking forward to that. So that will be my. However, let me add this. The case of LP, the publicity secretary had come out to say they are not fine with it, they are going forward. However, the other part of LP, the Lamidi Apapa part.
In fact, that one is another drama entirely. Lamidi Apapa said, faction said, we have accepted the
We have accepted the case, and so I don't know. I don't
honestly,
know.
that brings up a whole conversation about who actually has the
On
case
its own.
before the court. Is
On
it the
its own.
candidate or the party?
So that's why I said I don't want to delve into that, but I want to see what LP, Obi, Atiku, and PDP are taking to the Supreme Court. So that's it for me.
I think that's where we are right now. We all have keep our fingers crossed. Waziri Atiku Abubakar, I said, I no agree. Peter Obi too, I said no. We are marching on to the Supreme Court. So I guess,
of course, Atiku knows this is the last chance for him to become the president of this country.
Yeah, so he's going to fight to the last drop. And
yeah.
Honestly, for me, I just feel like it's almost like just trying to grasp to something that is not there. But like you said, in a country, in a political system where we get surprises every day, anything can happen. I guess we still have to be watchful. We're not interested in one person winning or one person losing. For us on this podcast, our priority is the rule of law. Let the rule of law prevail.
Of course.
Whichever way the axe falls, we want to believe that at the end of the day, it is the rule of law that will prevail. It is the will of the people that would prevail. Hafis, thank you very much for joining me here today.
Very delighted to be here.
Yeah, we lost Ade's connection. He will be back on the next episode, and so I am happy we're able to have this conversation. It's been something that has been brewing ever since the case was being caught, but we decided that it's better we wait till the decision has been made by the courts,
which is the rightful thing to do. We should not lend our own voice to the media.
And a lot of prominent lawyers, particularly when they are asked questions about this, one of the things I've heard most of the time is, quote unquote, what they usually say is they are not going to give their opinion on a matter that is in front of that is in court, that is in front of the judges. And that is why we have also taken that line. We've taken that advice that it's better we wait till court has made their decision. And now they've made their decision. Unfortunately, the opposition have said there is a part 2 to it. We are not done yet. So we'll keep our fingers crossed again. I'm sure when the Supreme Court makes the decision, we'll be back here again to go over it. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening. As usual, make sure you like videos and you make your comments. Let us hear what you have to think about everything we said. It's okay if you don't agree with our opinions. It's okay if you feel like you want to enlighten us on things that you feel you are more enlightened about. We are very open to hearing your suggestions and your comments. And make sure that you also subscribe to our channel and you like us across all other platforms. I mean your boy Ade boy. So I sign out. See you next time.